If you want to ooze confidence, these are the 4 steps you need to take. And these 4 steps are based on psychological science. I've spent the last month reading through the literature, trying to read the best books on confidence and digest it, look into the research, look into who are the experts, and trying to boil that down to pretty much 4 steps that you'll need to develop confidence. And I think that most of us need to work on the skill. As Ian Robertson says in his famous book, How Confidence Works, he says if we discovered an elixir that could make you healthier, wealthier, longer living, smarter, kinder, more motivated, and more innovative, wouldn't you take that elixir? Well, according to psychological science, we have discovered that elixir, and it's confidence. Research study after research study has conclusively shown that confidence reaps all of these benefits and much more. So let's get into the 4 steps to help you become more confident. And the first one might surprise you. The first one is stress reduction. Reducing your stress can actually reduce many other things that you're struggling with. Lots of research in medical sciences and psychological sciences has consistently shown that stress makes everything bad worse. So whether it's a physical or mental condition, stress exacerbates some of our worst physical and mental maladies. And the 2 maladies that are really relevant here to confidence are very common. It's anxiety and depression. So stress makes our anxiety and depression worse. These are 2 of the most common psychological difficulties that people struggle with. And why I'm speaking about anxiety and depression in relation to confidence is that you'll notice a common symptom between both of these really common psychological difficulties is that they both affect your confidence negatively. Just think about someone who's depressed. Think about someone who has a low mood. They're usually very self-critical. They're usually very self-doubting. They're very down on themselves. And because of that low mood, because of the depressive episode that they're going through, they can struggle to maintain confidence. The same goes for anxiety, but anxiety affects your confidence in a different way. Anxiety, because you're so anxious, because you're constantly anticipating negative consequences, you're constantly second-guessing yourself. You're constantly doubting yourself. You're constantly doubting what you do and what you say. And that also is corrosive to confidence. So this is why it's worthwhile learning how to reduce your stress. Because if you reduce your stress, you reduce your anxiety and depression. And by virtue of that, you'll increase your confidence. As Josiah Holland says, calmness is the cradle of power. Calmness is the cradle of power. And if calmness is the cradle of power, we need to learn how to engage in relaxation techniques. So that is the tool from therapy that you can use here. Learn about relaxation techniques. And there are many ways to engage in relaxation techniques because there are many things that can relax us as human beings based on the way that our brain and body are built. So one really powerful technique, according to the psychological research, is mindfulness meditation. Mindfulness is just your awareness of present moment experience without judgment. So it's a kind of awareness where you're aware of what's going on moment to moment without thinking, oh, I wish things were different in some way. It's more of an acceptance of whatever's going on, a bit more of a curiosity. Now, if you practice mindfulness, if you cultivate that, you reduce stress. Because stress is usually based on future-oriented thinking. And stress is based on judgment, how you think things should be, and the burden that you're carrying to make that happen. So mindfulness, the awareness of present moment, and the non-judgment both work in sync to help reduce your stress over time. So mindfulness meditation is really useful. It's something you can look into. You can also look into basic breathing techniques. Most breathing techniques are very effective for helping reduce stress. And they're based on the principle that you need to take longer, deeper breaths in order to relax. So that's another useful way to reduce your stress over time. But another obvious sort of technique from therapy is basically thinking about what are the biggest stresses in your life at the moment and what can you actually do about those stresses so that they don't stress you out as much. So it's a bit more of a direct way of dealing with stress because you're actually addressing the environmental factors that are contributing to your stress. For example, if you are currently stressed about your employment, what are things that you could do to check out some other job opportunities? How could you level up or upskill? Who could you speak to get more advice on how to advance your career? These are things that you could do that might help you feel less stressed about that stressor in the environment. And most people ignore this tool from therapy, engaging in relaxation techniques, because it feels a bit wishy-washy, it feels a bit soft. It feels like relaxation doesn't really get you to where you want to be. But as I said earlier, relaxation is the cradle of power. And remember what Sidney Harris says. Sidney Harris says that if you feel like you don't have time to relax, that's most when you need to relax. Now, step 2, once you've worked on your general stress level and you've tried to bring that down a bit so that you can alleviate some anxious thoughts and some depressive thoughts and start to cultivate some confidence, step 2 is going to involve setting up some manageable goals, some little manageable goals that you can achieve, set, and accomplish, so that you can build a track record of success. Maxime Lagasse puts it this way. Maxime says, small steps motivate, big steps overwhelm. So this is another way to make sure that you're motivated to pursue what you want to do, to pursue your goals, to make progress in that. And you're trying to set small goals so that you have some certainty that you'll succeed at them. Because your confidence is low, you want to expose yourself to situations where you can build up a bit of confidence. And how we build confidence is through an actual track record of success. Oftentimes when we feel low in confidence, we're thinking about all the times that we've failed, all the times that we've made mistakes, all the times we didn't do what we could have done. And so what this step asks of you is to do the opposite. It's to actually set goals that you can achieve. And when you set goals that you can achieve, you start to accumulate little experiences that start to stack on top of each other until you build a robust confidence based on having those experiences. Very often we can't outthink our way out of a lack of confidence. We actually need evidence to bolster our confidence. And this is one of those ways to get that evidence. It's to create lots of little goals that you have some certainty you'll succeed at, and then achieving them and building this track record of success, building experiential evidence that you are capable of things, you're competent in some way. So your action step here is to think about the big goals that you want to accomplish in your life and start to break all of them down into little building blocks that you can start to achieve, little things on your checklist that you can start to tick off. Now, once you're on your way in terms of this goal setting and achieving strategy, you're going to need some assistance in keeping yourself motivated, in reinforcing your self-belief so that you can keep going on this journey. One way to do this, and this is step 3, is to engage in positive self-talk so that you keep the flame of confidence burning over time as you're on this goal-setting journey. By positive self-talk, I mean focusing and reflecting on your strengths, the things that you're actually good at, focusing and reflecting on the things that you've accomplished already in the past. So thinking about all these little goals that you've hit. By positive self-talk, I also mean reflecting on your values and the things that are important to you, because research shows that that can also bolster confidence. People who focus on their values and who focus on the good intent that they have are more confident in their pursuits. And the reason that using positive language can keep us confident is because when we use positive language about ourselves, that positive language directs what we pay attention to. So in other words, what we're talking about can direct our flashlight of attention. It can dictate what we shine that flashlight of attention on. And whatever we give attention to multiplies. So if you're speaking about the positive aspects of yourself and you're reflecting on those positive aspects, you'll be shining that flashlight of awareness on those positive aspects. And if you're shining it on those positive aspects, that is what's going to multiply. And in that multiplication process, that's where your confidence is going to build. And this is not just my opinion. One of the most prolific psychologists in the world at the moment, Steven Pinker, says that the language we use influences the way we think. So use your language to change your underlying thoughts about yourself. Because once you change those underlying thoughts, you change your level of confidence. Ralph Waldo Emerson put it in another way. He said that what lies behind us and what lies before us are small matters compared to what lies within us. So work on changing that internal narrative by using the external narrative. Now at this stage, you've reduced your stress through step 1. You've created little goals and you've started to achieve them using step 2. And then you've also reflected on your strengths and you're using your external narrative to change your internal thinking about yourself, which was step 3. The last thing you need to do is you need to seek constructive feedback and you need to seek mentorship so that you can grow and develop your skills. Because at the end of the day, what really builds confidence is building competence. Competence should be thought of as the core of confidence. Before trying to feel good about yourself, you should actually become good at something. This is a strategy that's based in reality. We're not trying to hack your way to confidence. We're actually building genuine confidence because you are growing as a person. You're developing yourself. You're learning new skills. You're becoming better at what you do. And as your competence increases, usually your confidence will also increase. But in order to engage in growth and development and learning, you have to believe that you're capable of growth, development, and learning. So we have to work on that belief first. And I want to reassure you that you are capable of change and growth. Just think about something that you really sucked at a few years ago, or possibly in your childhood, that's now second nature. I know for me, driving is one of those things. I remember the first time I was trying to learn and develop my driving skills. This was before I got my license. I remember how anxiety provoking it was to look in all these mirrors and have to control something with your hands and your feet at the same time. That was ridiculous to me. So I remember how stressful that was. But now I could do that in my sleep. Not that I would, and that's also illegal. But I can do it as second nature. It comes so easily. I don't have to think about it that much. And so there are probably skills like that you've learned, that you've developed, that you're good at now, that you really sucked at before. And that's evidence that you can learn, you can grow, you can develop. Carol Dweck, one of the most prolific psychologists at the moment, speaks about this as a growth mindset, the belief that you can actually change some aspects of yourself. The opposite of that is believing that you can't change. And according to her research, those people don't do well in life. They're not as successful. They don't have as high levels of well-being. So it's really important to reinforce the belief that you can change, you can grow. You don't have to be this current version of yourself. You can become someone else. So your action step here is to think about whatever you're struggling with or whatever you don't feel confident in. You need to think about what mentorship you need, what support you need, what you need to learn, how you can grow, what traits do you need to develop to become better at this, what skills do you need to develop, what books do you need to read. This is your action step here. Just think about the problem for a moment. Stay with the problem. Stay with what you're struggling with, even if it makes you feel a bit less confident. Just stay with that problem for a moment, because in that problem is guidance about what you need. Albert Einstein said that he's not necessarily smarter than other people, he just stays with problems longer than most people. And that's what you need to do here. Now, apart from following these 4 steps, I also think it's really important to identify your underlying beliefs about yourself. This is something I do in therapy to help people boost their self-belief and their self-confidence. Because if you think about it, self-belief is just your beliefs about yourself. So in order to increase self-belief, you need to first understand what those beliefs are. What do you believe about yourself? Most people are walking around with beliefs that they're not aware of. They're like fish that are swimming in water and unaware of it. Whether we know it or not, we're all swimming in these beliefs about ourselves. And those beliefs are either restricting us or they're empowering us to take action. So it's very important to try to identify your underlying beliefs and then to learn how to go beyond the limiting beliefs that you might have about yourself. And if you'd like to do that, I have a link in the description of this video. If you click on that link, you'll be taken to a free training on my website that teaches you a tool from therapy called the downward arrow technique. And it shows you step by step how to use that technique to identify your underlying beliefs and then to go beyond any beliefs that are limiting you. I'll see you there.